Okay friends, now we're going to start painting our secondary color wheel. We're going to start by painting the orange that's straight out of our paint palette and its tint and shade of it, and then the green and the purple that we're not going to mix. These are going to be the colors straight from our paint palette. We're going to do those first in this first video. So you can follow along with me since we did this exactly the same with our primary colors, but now we're going to do it with our secondary colors. So I'm going to get my paint palette nice and wet, and I'm going to first just paint the pure hue, right, which is on the second ring of orange. I think I need a little bit more of the hue. Feels like it's a little thin, a little transparent. So I'm going to come back in, just make sure I got it nice and wet. So I got a lot of paint on my brush and come through. So you can follow along right with me. I feel like you guys are going to be old hats at this. We're really creating a reference guide for when we go to paint our still lifes, that we can get creative with our color choices and our color schemes. So now I'm going to bring some paint out here onto my paint palette to create that tint. And remember, we create a tint of a color using watercolor by adding water to it and thinning it out and making it more transparent, right? It's more see-through, so that more of the white paper from underneath shows through. That's how we're adding, a tint is a color plus white, and how you add white to watercolors is by allowing the white paper to show through, by making the paint more transparent in its application. So there's my tint of orange. Oops, not red. Now I'm going to bring some more paint out here to start creating my shade. Okay, and putting that out there, and then I'm going to rinse my brush and get a little black. Let's see what a shade of orange looks like. Kind of like a greenish brown almost. I want to add a little bit more. I don't have very much pigment, which is making it kind of transparent. Rinse my brush off. Remember, you can dry your brush off on your paper towel too if there's too much water in your brush and your paper is starting to get a little soupy. Tap your brush on your paper towel in between colors. All right, so that's what the orange looks like straight from the palette. But now I'm going to try doing it with green, adding to my green. Triangle. Put a little bit of paint out here on my lid. Use whatever you want. Okay, so then I'm going to start in the middle where we want to put the hue. Right here, and it's a little transparent. We want it to be more opaque, so add more of that pigment. We don't want the white paper showing through. All right, and now I can add some water to this green that I put out here on the palette to make that transparent. Now we do want it transparent for the tint. All right, put a little more pigment out here before I mix in black and make my shade. I think I want a little more black in here. We'll make this a dark forest green. So hopefully you're following right along with me. If I'm going faster than you are, that's okay. You'll have more time to work. Don't worry if you're still on your orange. It's okay. Spread this. If the water pools up, the paint pools up, kind of spread it around. One of the cool things about watercolor, though, is that its imperfections kind of create its beauty, right? Look, notice my orange is kind of running into, the hue is running into my shade over here, but I kind of think it creates a cool, abstracted look. Watercolors are supposed to be loose. Put some purple out here. Moving on to my purple triangle. You're just painting along with me. You don't have to stop and watch, but maybe look up once in a while. It's the same process we did for the primary colors. Make sure you are not in one of the mixed, right? We're still just doing straight from the palette and seeing what purple looks like straight from the palette. Okay, now I'm going to add some water to that, thin it out. Maybe we'll get a nice lavender with the transparent color. And that's pretty. You know, we're working towards a finished product, just like we did with our drawing exercises. We did a portrait at the end, and like I said, we're going to do a still life at the end. We'll talk more about what still lifes are. And of course, there'll still be some drawing involved. We'll draw what we paint, but I'm excited to do a painting this time. Last time we focused on the value, on value, that element of art value, and now we're focusing on color, but we'll still have to apply our understanding of value so that we can make our painting look three-dimensional by adding shading, but using our colors. So if I have a purple vase, and I want it to look like it's really three-dimensional, I might have to add some shading to where it goes around, and instead of doing just black, I could make this shade of purple to show where the object is going away from us and therefore creating a shadow. I can create a shade of my purple. So there we go. We've got our secondary colors, and I'm going to pause here, and then we will talk about making secondary colors from primary.